Okay, well, this is a bit of an experiment. I'm now live on YouTube talking about JMRI. I've got a guest coming in shortly called Roy. Hopefully Roy will be able to connect through. He needs to request to be in the stream if we're going to actually have him talking with us. So hopefully he'll be able to do that anytime soon. Send me a message, Roy, if you can hear me on the chat. And we're going to talk about JMRI. Roy's been developing a plan for a layout, so have I, and he's got some interesting technical stuff which he's doing with Arduinos and things, but we're both trying to use JMRI's front end PanelPro to do a layout plan and then to control the layout from that. So with any luck, Roy will join us shortly, and just going to send an invite to Roy. Hopefully, bear with me a moment. Just talking to myself. I'm not sure what you can see. You should be able to see me still. Just going into my email. Pull that over there. Okay, I've sent an invitation. If that works, we will have Roy joining us shortly. Yeah, he's part of Model Railway Group Club, and he's developing plans with them for quite a bit of JMRI involvement and usage. So it'd be nice if we can follow the progress on this channel. But also, one of my reasons for getting online and talking about JMRI is to discuss operations, because I've been using Operations Pro module within JMRI, and it's great fun, but it allows you to do quite a lot with it in terms of setting up where your trains are, where your locomotives are, locations on your layout, and then planning stock movements as if it's a real railway. So I'm hoping to show you some of that maybe today, but if we get Roy in here, we will be able to carry on, have a chat more about what he's doing. And if anyone else, oh, Roy.
See me?
I can see you, Roy. You're online, you're live and streaming.
That's good.
So welcome to this live stream. Please watch your language. At the moment, I believe that we are the only people watching this, but yeah,
have you invited anybody else or just us?
I haven't invited anybody, but if they're online and looking at YouTube, then they will see that the stream's taking place. So they can click through and join, and I can bring other people in if I want to. So that's kind of useful.
It's a little bit. Well, actually, this seems clearer than Zoom to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean,
my mic is it? This is. I've got this balanced on the arm of my sofa, which is slightly at an angle for me to reach the keyboard. If I twist it like that, that's not very useful. What I need is a camera squarely.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
But yeah, it is interesting that, because mind you, I'm looking at it from your point of view now, because if you look on the right hand side here, on the Zoom, it was on the other side. The picture was reversed.
Mirror, yeah.
Obviously, this is my right you know, so consequently the lights are coming in through the window on this side.
This is my right hand waving now.
Yeah, as is mine.
Well, yours is correct. I'm seeing my left hand. No, I'm seeing my right hand. I am seeing my right hand. That's right. Yeah.
It's just
don't ask my missus to get involved in that because she doesn't know her left from her right very often.
Yeah. So anyway. This is powered by StreamYard.
StreamYard, yeah. It's very easy. It's completely browser based. So all you do is you click through into the StreamYard thing. The free version of it is available up to, I think, 20 hours a month. So if you're not doing more than 20 hours a month, then you know, you can use it for free, which is brilliant. Yeah, I was having problems with OBS with just switching between different sharing and things, and then I'd lose the mic, or I'd lose setting. I don't know if it was me, or it seemed that every so often something would not work, and then in order to make it work, I would have to shut OBS down and restart it. Maybe that was just me. Maybe it's a Windows 10 thing. But it was just being too much of a pain.
This seems easy to use.
So far very easy to use. Yeah.
What about, like, if you're going to sort of explain something or demonstrate something? Are you able to?
Well, this is it. This is it. I mean, in theory, if I click on share now and share screen, I can get up. I have to remember there's 3 tabs. The top tab is your entire screen, and then the next tab is application window. If you want to do a particular application, it's easier just to do that. So then I can.
Right. Okay. You've got my application up there.
Right. Can you still see us as well?
Yeah. Yeah, what's happened is the 2 pictures of you and myself have gone to the left-hand side, middle of the screen.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Right, okay. And then I've got the display of my layout on the right-hand side.
And hopefully, if so that's it actually takes up less real estate on the screen than OBS as well. So from the point of view of being able to do this, I can actually sort of fit it in a bit easier, and I can see more to carry on demonstrating things. So yeah. So let's carry on our discussion, because we're talking about whether points get included into blocks. So if we look at point number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one argument which says that there's one argument which says you don't include points, and that's if you're looking at Rockrail, which I think you're more familiar with, you don't include the points in the blocks.
I had a very brief period with Rockrail, nowhere near as much now as what I've done with JMRI. It was only a fleeting look at Rockrail. So
I think from JMRI's point of view anyway, points should be within a block. And there's quite a discussion. If you look back in the forum on JMRI at what is recommended, you'll find a few different points of view.
Yeah.
Now, one of the key things about points is that they obviously give you a choice of routes. So at point 1, or if we're in America, it's called a turnout.
Yes,
just for our American colleagues. If you're heading in from this left-hand side into point 1, then you have a choice of 2 routes: going straight, or taking the curve route.
That's right.
The parlance for JMRI with points is closed or thrown. So if a closed point is straight through, and a thrown point is to take the diverging route.
Correct, yeah.
In British signalling terms, it might be thought as being in normal or reversed. Normal being the place where the trains usually go, and reverse being when the point is thrown to go into some other thing, and it actually requires in the signal box the lever being pulled. So when your point lever is out of its normal position, it is reversed and therefore taking the train somewhere other than it would normally go.
Yes, I know you mean.
So because they give you this change of direction capability, you can consider the point as being part of the previous block even, so that it's occupied at the point that the train is approaching the point, and that would lock that point to say it's now prevented from moving, because if a train's approaching it, you might not think it's a good idea to change the point suddenly, because that might cause all kinds of chaos.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's one school of thought. The next is, well, your signals should be controlling your speed of your train. If the signals stop, then it's fine to change the point as long as the signal is stop and you haven't allocated the route, if you want to refer to it like that.
Yeah.
So that point could be in a separate block. That's not a problem. And then you say, well, which block is it in? Well, one answer would be in the straight on route, but then you could say, well, what would happen if the train stopped with a wagon hanging over into that block? It would be occupied and you wouldn't be able to change the point, or you wouldn't want to change the point because it might throw the wagon or the carriage or something off the track. And you really want to be clear of that point, and know it's clear of that point in order to be confident that you can change that. And so that might mean you really do want it to be separate from, in its own block. But then you might think, well, once you're occupying a point, I mean, in this case, your point one is connected to the double slip.
That's
and
right.
Then another double slip, and then another point, and another point. And if you carry on down point 6, 7, 8, 9, it could be connected to a lot of points. And then you get into the question, well, you could occupy the whole of the interlocking, as they call them in America, the whole of the junction, with one sensor to prevent any trains crossing over through there while another one is crossing over.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask, because looking at this one, where we've got effectively point number 1, the way I was looking at it was, if you're coming round towards the input of the point, if the route is set for straight on, then I would have thought that the route would have been obviously straight through. It would have been part of that upper block 1, if you like, so that it would have been straight through. And the point, let's assume that it goes to red, if you like, for on JMRI, it goes to a colour to signify that you're going through that route. So then if you now throw the point to go in towards the first double slip, the double slip is going to be in some sort of a position, generally either straight on or branching to go onto the inner route. In which case, the route then would have to be set for, or the colours presumably would change on point 1 and on point what is currently 2 and 3, which is the double slip. So whichever way, it would have to signify which way that point is facing, and then same again on the next double slip, won't it? I mean, is that the way I'm looking at it correctly, or is it that you have a separate logic, if you like, to be able to operate the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Good question. In JMRI, there is something built in called block boss logic. that's hidden really from, but this is a really important thing in JMRI. It's hidden from you in as much as there's no screen to go to look at what's set up with block boss logic. But when you connect your points on your panel and then start adding your signals in, it's building this block boss logic behind the scenes. Okay.
Right.
Now, what's really, really important is if you change your panel, you can break the block boss logic. It relies on it being built as you're going, and it relies on that teaching it effectively what is connected to what. If you change anything, it can stop working. So what you have to do in the blocks table, there's a little tool which says remove block logic, delete block logic, and then we can look at that another time. But basically, if you have changed something in between, rather than just extending, you need to go in and change, remove the block boss logic and restart JMRI for it to actually work properly. You can break the logic basically internally without it showing up in any way, because it's So it does do it, but it's a little bit, it's kind of hidden really.
This is if you were going to change anything on your actual layout, as far as JMRI is concerned, like for example, adding tracks or adding another point or something like that, where you're physically changing the physical status of the layout, not just if you're adding, say, a couple of buttons or a couple of status things, as internal sensors, for example, to operate something or to test.
No, that's fine. Yeah, it's just, I mean, for example, if you've got a block which is a certain length, and you decide what you really want is for that to be two shorter blocks. If you just did that without deleting the blocks and restarting, you would not have logic underneath which was working properly. It wouldn't be able to figure out what had happened. It wouldn't see it effectively.
Example that you just said, and you've got that to say a length of track, and consequently you do split that into two, and let's assume you delete the two, you delete the signal, split it into two, and now when you go into the, what was it called, bus logic or something?
Yeah, I'll see if I can show you, because
well, what happens then is if you now shut down JMRI and click it to rebuild again, does it automatically rebuild it all from scratch?
It rebuilds the logic once you restart JMRI, yes.
Oh, right, okay. So it's not a major disaster then. It's not like you've got to.
But if you've made a change which is upset it, and you don't remove it before and then save, and then I'll show you now. Okay, this is our JMRI panel. Our main menu, and in panels. Sorry, not in panels at all. In tools. Sorry, you can't see that at the moment. I'm going to the tables option.
No.
And then I'm going into blocks. You'll just have to trust me on that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it takes a little moment to load. Just find the new screen. Okay, so this is our block table.
Yeah.
And in the top of here, I think it used to be called something. Anyway, now it's called just paths. Delete paths. Can you see that?
Yeah. So you have to highlight one. It's just that one, does it?
I'm not sure you can see what I'm actually clicking here.
Yeah, you're clicking on paths.
Yeah, and then it just shows delete paths. Oh, there we are. Yeah, delete paths.
Yeah.
That's the only option under paths.
And if you clicked on that, would it be the one that is highlighted now, IB5?
There's no visible change. There's no change to any of your blocks that you've set up that you can see. It doesn't make any visible change to anything. All it's doing is underneath, it's telling JMRI that we no longer want to use the logical connections that it's worked out, and we're going to start again. So when you restart JMRI, it then will go through and it will rework those connections.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so you have to, having done that, so I mean, I could do it now. It doesn't make any difference. I sure you'll want to do it. This will take effect when you next store the panel. Any path information will not be saved, will be rebuilt. So I'll say remove. Now I'm going to do a file store, which is our standard way of doing things. There's several places you can do a store, but configuration and panels, don't worry about the file name. It's just me mucking around. But I've just resaved my file, and if I restart JMRI now, then next time I come back to it, all my blocks will be rebuilt, and it will start up with it all correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, but if you don't do that, when you've made a change, it can mean that it won't see what's happening, or it will start throwing errors on the console, and that sort of thing. We have somebody else on board, Anfield Road. Hi, Anfield Road. Welcome to our stream. Hopefully you can hear us loud and clear. We've got Roy in the house, and I'm John, as you can see from our screen names. Isn't that amazing? But you're very welcome. So I don't know if you caught any of the discussion we've had so far, but if you've got any questions to ask, you're very welcome. So we're looking at Roy's plan for his layout, and he's looking at using JMRI with some pretty clever sensors fed in using Wi-Fi, Roy, if I get this right, and into Arduinos, and then into JMRI through through a LocoNet interface.
Yes, that's right.
The RR Circuits Tower Pro. Have I got that right?
It's the RR Circuits Tower Controller.
Tower Controller, that's the one.
Which is a 64-channel input module. And I've got 4 of them available. And I've designed now the printed circuit boards, which I've literally just sent off to China yesterday to be manufactured, which are the PCB to go onto the layout to collect the information. That feeds into effectively an Arduino, which uses an NRF24L01, which is an RF transceiver. That sends the information across to another nano that collects that information and splits it down into the relative inputs to go into the RR circuits unit, which runs on the LocoNet, then, of course, through into JMRI. The principle of it has been tested and is fine. The sensors are all based on infrared detectors, which you can actually you can tune and so on. I think I have shown you this type of infrareds. That's, if I can find it, that's one of the infrared detectors there. And that's feeding back at the moment to currently just be position ready. I'll get in the wrong direction with my finger, so it goes back to that, which is a JMRI socket, really. Sorry, an Arduino socket. And that will carry it's actually known as a Keywish unit, which is a self-contained Arduino with a built-in transceiver. And if I can find one, that's what it is. That is an Arduino, standard Arduino, but it's got the transceiver set already built into it.
So what kind of price is one of those units then, Roy?
Well, I mean, I get them. You have to get them from China. You can't get them over here. They'll pay megabucks. But one of those probably about £3, £4.
Good value, yeah.
So very good value for money. When I bought them, which was last year, I was getting them for about £3 a piece. And I actually bought 20 of them at the time. Then you've got the NRF systems as well. So you can actually have both. You can work on with either an NRF system or with one of those. It's just that now the PCB that are designed for it will actually accept either way. It'll either accept a keyless module, or you can just use a standard Arduino Nano and put an NRF 24 module in it on the PCB.
Which is, gives you a lot of flexibility, doesn't it?
Oh, it's very, very powerful. I mean, the previous layout, which is just here, the test layout that we do at the end-to-end, the previous system did use a communications protocol exactly the same, and it ran very well. But I wanted to expand it further. So on the internet, if you go if you're on YouTube and you look up mechatronics, you'll find there's a very good information about running a network. And it can have up to 3,000 nodes on it, which I'm not going to have 3,000 inputs on my layout.
So do you need you need your Wi-Fi router to be able to hook up to that or something? No.
It doesn't use it. It's direct. It's one-on-one. What happens is if you're on one particular Arduino, for argument's sake, and you want to communicate with any one of the others, you effectively do it if you like, a transmission receiver code. So in other words, effectively, if you can imagine it, say you've got 6 of them, you just say that from number 1, I want to send a message to number 4 or to number 5, and you just put that in the message stream. And the payload then of the actual RF, it can be anything. It can be digital, it can be analog. And the nice thing about it is it's repetitive. In other words, it's running all the time, so it's not running under sort of triggered conditions. It's very, very good. It's very powerful. And I have done the networking before. The new one is going to be more powerful.
Great, thanks, Roy. What I just thought was we've been talking about your layout and where the points should be in blocks. And I just wanted to make one further point about the points, if I may use that expression. I'll just go back to sharing the screen.
Okay.
Because something's come to mind, which I'll fix if I don't do it straight away. Okay, so what we're talking about is point number 1, and what happens to block occupancy if you've got a train which is flowing all the way through, say, traveling into this inner part of the layout. Obviously, you want to hold up all the trains which are going to potentially interact with that. But if you look at this section here, you might not want to stop trains which are going around the very inner loop to these sides. No. You might want those to be independent. So you've got to think about what trains could potentially carry on running when you're occupying certain points. So for example, as well, you might have a train which is crossing over just from the outer line to the, if that's the up line, to the down line, the down main, call it that, coming into number 3 there, and not going to 4 and 5 at all. And meanwhile, there might be a train running around, crossing that double slip,
correct,
4 or 5, which you want to carry on running. So you don't want to necessarily occupy the whole lot at once. So you might want to think about blocking it in such a way that logically it will work for you, because nobody else except for you knows what trains should or shouldn't run through there, depending on the circumstances.
I mean, the other thing, if you go a little bit further to effectively the 2 inner loops, yeah, actually, if you look closely at it, there's 2 inner loops on the left-hand side and 1 on the right-hand side. Now, what the idea of that is to actually be able to either do it logically or by using scripting or whatever, to actually be able to alternate at effectively 0.6 and 0.7 is the part where it can take the loco from the very inner loop, the blue loop at the moment, and that goes round onto the inner loop on the right-hand side. But then it can alternate further down onto the other point where it can actually be, it's like 2 halves of a loop, you see what I mean? Mm. So you can actually put, it's like a passing place, really. It's like a passing part, but effectively it's a cross layout.
Yeah, yeah.
So it does give you a bit of, now, one area that might look a bit strange is if you look at where you've got 0.4 and 5, which is the final double slip, and then you come round to 0.13, that section there, you've actually got 2 stopping areas at the front, at the beginning, at the end, and at the end of that section.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because that is, in my opinion, a bi-directional section of track.
Absolutely, yeah.
So consequently, depends on which direction it's going in, will determine which of those sensors get activated to actually send the information.
Yeah. In terms of completeness of showing where trains are, if you're using current sensing, it makes sense to have sensors for points showing the train's actually on the point, and also that then does allow you to lock that point if that train is there. But there's a further consideration which I think is important, and we've talked a little bit about this in our private discussions before, that when a train is going into a set of points, there may be a fouling point ahead of the point or after the point, at which, if it had stopped there, a train trying to travel along a neighbouring branch of the point might interfere with it because it's too close to the point. It's too close to the junction. So you need to think about the front and the tail of trains, and whether those tails or the engine itself is going to be too near to other rolling stock at the point it stops before the point. There's a lot of points to make.
I mean, the thing that I was thinking about, the reason I've not yet put any blocking, any sections on the points, was that I was thinking about the possibility that what I might need to do is use scripting to sort of interrogate what the point positions are, and then control the if you like, the status through, give it statuses to the JMRI if that's feasible. This is what we spoke briefly about last week, about being able to put scripting code into the actual dispatcher. Was it the dispatcher we talked about?
In dispatcher, yes. The turnouts, as they're called in JMRI, can have feedback. Now, there's 2 different types of feedback, basically. I mean, one which isn't really feedback; it's just block occupancy sensing. Is to say, is there a train there? Which is a block occupancy sensor, either a current sensor or I mean, it's more difficult for yourself to do this, I think, because with current sensing, what you're doing is detecting the rails, and that's relatively straightforward with points, but with infrared, it's not so easy to think about putting an infrared detector into a point, because you've got to drill a hole somewhere, and you've got moving bits, and you've not got a lot of space for things, and where exactly would you drill it anyway, and that type of question. So it does raise some interesting questions.
What we've done at the club on the layout there, we've actually used infrared. Effectively, they're cross-track detectors, and we use them effectively. Like, for example, we take that junction there now, the one that takes in point 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, there'd be probably 2 or maybe 3 cross-track photo detectors, if you like, which is protecting all of that area, going straight from one side to the other, along the route, if you like. And we've done that on 2 or 3. And these, I think I mentioned them before when Richard was talking with us about these TSOP, they call Vichy TSOP 38. I think they're either 2838 or 3848 or something. They're a 38 kilohertz transceiver. They're used they're actually an infrared receiver, sorry, not transceiver, receiver that's used in television controls. So you can imagine the distance they can travel. They're quite good. And I have I actually designed again previously the printed circuit boards for actually controlling those using the side for showing infrared transmitters. They're just little LEDs. And what you do is you drive them at a frequency of, in this case, 38 kilohertz. And what's nice about it, it means you're not getting any interference from surrounding ambient light, because it's tuned to 38 kilohertz.
It sounds doable. I figured it'd be fairly an involved process to make it work. It's a complex junction like that, but it sounds like you're confident you can do it. So I'd be really interested to see the kind of outcome from that.
Whether I do it in sense, I don't know. The part I'm hoping I can be able to do it with is by the scripting, if necessary, or what you just call the boss logic, and whether that will actually cope with it. That'd be an interesting exercise, but this is going to be obviously a very slow build over a period of time. Now
there are many ways to skin a cat with this, and I think it's it's a case of going to be experimenting, trying things out. Yeah.
The other thing you commented on this particular layout, where we're talking about the stopping sections on the loop, possibly needing to be sections. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look on the sidings, near, for example, 10 and 11, points 10 and 11, yeah, you'll notice I've got those pseudo sensors in the actual stopped areas as well. So at the ends of the track,
these.
Yeah, you've got if you take the middle one, you've got the middle track up a bit to the left. That's it. That's a sensor for that short section. And then you've got another sensor that tells occupancy for the actual stop area. Again, whether it's needed. What I've done there is primarily worked out what the total number of, if you like, inputs that would be required to the JMRI, based on if we did the whole lot of that, which I'm hoping I probably won't need to do all of it. It all depends on the functionality when we come to actually test it with the various stages. Because, like I say, if you look on the red bit of text at the bottom there, it tells you we've got like 130 inputs.
Yeah. Whether that's all going to be needed is another question. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you might. I mean, it's going to be an interesting exercise, I think, Roy, and I'm looking forward to the progress with it. So.
Well, the moment when I spoke to Hattons the other day, where I get my my equipment from, they've got a lot of problems at the moment, primarily with Pico, for delivery of items, and they're talking 2 to 3 months of possible delivery.
I'd heard that things were slow, but I hadn't realised it was that bad. Yeah.
No, they said, and then they reduced some stock in on January, and we're now into March, and they've given them some new dates, which is like in about 6 weeks to 8 weeks' time, like 2 months. But they say they're fully expecting that to go out again, because they normally do. But hopefully we might not do, you know, it all depends. But at the moment, trying to get hold of track is terrible. It's not easy.
I'd like to share quickly with you and any viewers that happen to watch this into the future, or if they come on now, if I may, a little bit of the operations of JMRI, because it's something I'm wanting very much to explore with people and have people engage with. So if I can do that, Roy, is that right with you for a minute? Have you got a moment still?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. Okay. This is a view of my panel, and it's rather complicated and involved, and I would rather people didn't worry too much about the complication of it. I'll just zoom in a little bit. And what I want to focus on is these icons, because what they represent are, well, locos and trains. So I've built a load of trains in JMRI operations. This is a representation of a lazy shed. And if I right click on one of these, hopefully it will come up. It is so far showing things. So I've got various options right clicking on a train icon. I can move it. I've got a route that this train follows. So this train's going from St Blasey Yard, Par Harbour Junction, Par Harbour to Par Dock. If I click on move, it will move to the next location in there. Now, that's not going to actually move a physical train around the layout. That's not what this is about. What this is about is moving the locos and, well, one or more locos and the associated wagons logically around the layout, so that the system can track where all your stock is. So if I click on move, you can see that icon is actually now physically moving up the screen.
Yeah.
It's a little bit jumpy, but it is going. It's smoother in reality than it is on the stream, but it's now moved to its next location. If I now right click on it and look, it's now at Par Harbour Junction.
Okay.
Now the loco associated with it, which is, if you can't, well, true, yeah, 6156. That's a large prairie. So it's a light engine move to Par Dock. So if I look in train conductor, if that window shares with you.
There's nothing opened there.
No, I need to find it. I think I've got to stop that one and open the other one.
All right, okay.
Okay, this is what I'm looking at.
Okay.
What this shows you is the train that you've built in operations, and it tells you, well, I'm using the train identity as a head code, so the OZ50. So the OZ50 6156 is your engine on that. It has a description, so it's 11 o'clock. LE light engine move from St Blasey to Par Dock. You've got your railway name, tells you the current location and the next location. And then down below, if there's any work that can take place here, you can select and unselect wagons to be offloaded at that point, or you can bring in new wagons if you want to pick up something which wasn't planned. You could do that. Otherwise, you've just got a move button. It does no work. So I'll just click on move for now, and that's moving the train on to the next location. When we get to Pardock, there's our locomotive. It's saying it should move to siding 5. So it's telling the operator what the plan is for this train, where to move it, and so you can just say select all. If there's lots of wagons, that will select all of them, and then in this case that's the end of the line, so I'm going to say terminate. So that train has now terminated. As soon as you click on terminate, what it does is it informs the software that all those wagons, rolling stock, whatever, have actually moved from that location to the other location. So and the database is updated to reflect that. So okay. It's a way of building something which is useful in terms of where your stock is going, maybe prototypical actual train operations, so you can have timetables and things. The way I'm doing this is I'll just jump into another screen. Bear with me a second.
No problem.
Okay, this is our screen for our built trains, and the ones which wouldn't build for some reason. So it's a fairly involved thing, and it can be quite an exercise in its own right getting this set up, because you can spend hours deciding what wagons should go where. It's an art form in its own right. In America, they do tend to like operations with wagon loads, and set this up for realistic trains moving to places on the layouts. I've got this set up as realistically as I can for what I'm doing, and I'm modeling the Newquay branch with a number of local branches to that. So you can see the time down the left-hand side. I'll click on. At the moment I'm showing all, so that's showing everything, but this is just now showing all the trains which have successfully built, and you can see that the time runs from 5 minutes past midnight and keeps going down until the last train at 6 o'clock. So you might want to build something like this. And at the top left it says Wednesday. I've got a schedule on another panel which will show you different times and what trains are being built and that sort of thing. But you can build a set of trains up for an operating session, and then each operator can be given for different locations what's called a switch list. So it will tell you what's going on at that particular location, what trains are expected, which wagons are coming in and going out from which tracks, and you can do it to whatever extent you like. It's and it allows you to basically plan an operating session in a way which is as realistic as you like, based on, and the system builds this for you, builds your trains for you once you've set up where your wagons are, what loads you want to go to places. It's very sophisticated, and it's very clever how it does it. So
that'll be an interesting project when I get to it. Got a lot to do for that. I mean, what I'm going to be concentrating on now is my old double O gauge end to end, which I have done some modifications on that layout in the AnyRail 6. to make it more compliant with what we're doing as far as blocks are concerned and sections. So that'll be something for us to have another chat about at some point.
Sure. Just noticed that we've had somebody else come on the stream. So Tom's Trains and Things. Hi, Tom. I do enjoy your channel. You're very welcome to be here. Excellent content you've got. So very good to have you on board for a minute.
Yeah, I enjoy Tom's Trains as well. It's very good.
Yeah. So welcome. We've been discussing quite a few things. I think, well, we've been on now for, how long have we been on? 50 minutes?
50 minutes.
Which I'd like to suggest, Roy, that that we use this format for our discussions in the future. I mean, it allows other people to engage with it as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's useful for people. And B, you're welcome, Tom. Thank you. Yeah. It's a great way to, people to share their experiences and also to share their knowledge. And I'm hoping with my YouTube channel to start making that a little bit more comprehensive in terms of what the content is on there, so that people can really kind of make it as a destination for picking up information about how to control model railways with software particularly, but also the hardware and the operation side, I think, be particularly interesting. So yeah, I've actually got my jab this afternoon, so it was scheduled for last week, but that's another story. But I'm going to have to get myself ready to go out in a minute. So appreciate your time, Roy, and I hope it's been helpful for you today.
Well, in my opinion, I think this is a better method than what Zoom has turned out to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing is, it certainly worked. The experiment that you've carried out there certainly seems to work very well. That StreamYard seems to be very good. Might be worth, and certainly that'd be worthwhile. So, what will you do? I mean, will you sort of initiate some time of a time scale or something, or send out an email of when you're going to do the next bulletin sort of thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, while I'm unemployed, it's not an issue. I mean, I tend to like going on in the afternoons. I like watching Donegal Dad at lunchtime, and then after lunch, sort of, I'm more free to have a go at this sort of thing. So, Tom's commenting, if you plan on doing this regularly, I can promote your stream on Monday night. If you promote it Monday night, that'd be great, Tom. Thank you. I mean, is this 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I mean, is good for me at the moment because the family are out of the way. When the attic's not too hot or not too cold, potentially I could do it from up there. We can actually see some trains not running necessarily much because there's not a lot to run on at the moment, a little bits there, but the development of it will be shown as well. So, but at this moment, it's easier, and I'm interested in talking about software and the JMRI operation side of it, and how to connect things, that type of stuff. So we'll focus on that from the comfort of my living room for a few. And I suggest we look at doing this, say, once a week at first, and maybe a bit more frequently after that. But midweek Wednesdays is good. Should we stick with a Wednesday sort of 2 o'clock?
Yeah, Wednesday's okay for me.
Yeah, and then if we say that live on air, as I just have, then everyone knows what we're talking about. So we can know where we're at. And I'm hoping the YouTube Model Railway community will pick it up as well, and we can build it from there. But be welcome for anybody to come online and talk about what they're doing in terms of JMRI software sort of involvement with controlling trains, DCC automation, operations, just generally, electronics and model railways, and Western region diesels, anything like that. Steam, I don't mind.
Okay.
So, great. Thanks, Roy.
Yeah,
look forward. Thanks, Tom. Hopefully we'll all catch up again soon. Appreciate you being here. All the best to all.
Take care.